Hello, Dr. Lewis here, and in today's video, again, I'm here to talk about the types of fasts. So what are these types of fasting? And I know most of you always ask that I am new to fasting, so where should I start? So possibly this is a video for you. So if you're new to fasting, the best way to start fasting is actually consuming at least 3 meals a day. Because I realized most of us consume more than 3 meals a day, including snacking, and we only count a meal as one when we're sitting on a table to eat a serious meal. But we don't count the calories that we take in during snacking and eating all those fluids like milk and stuff. So we don't count that. We only count meals that are serious. So I'm here to correct that. Fasting means you're not taking in any calories. You can only rehydrate, but you do not take in any calories. Therefore, milk is not supposed to be taken, and therefore, tea is not supposed to be taken, not unless it's sugarless green tea or black coffee. And then again, you're not supposed to eat bone broth. Bone broth is a superfood. You're not supposed to eat fermented cabbage, avocado. These are foods. So you hold yourself voluntarily from eating these foods. And if you're starting, then I already told you that you have to start with 3 meals a day and make sure you don't snack in between. And then you can only drink water and some salt. Then from there now, you start an intermittent fast. So that is type number 1 of fasting, which is an intermittent fast. So intermittent fasting means you're skipping a meal, maybe one, maybe two. The best way is to start with one meal. So let's say you take your first meal at 7 a.m., which we do not encourage, but that comes later. But if you're starting, you're eating at 7 a.m., you're eating at 1 p.m., you're eating at 8 p.m. Let's assume that. So what you do is you eat at 7 a.m., then you skip that meal that we call lunch. Then you go and eat dinner at 8 p.m. So that gives you a gap between your meals. So at least an 8-hour gap between meals. So once you've adapted the 3 meals a day and you're not snacking anymore, it's easy for you to skip lunch. Okay? So once you skip one meal, then that is easy to get to that. So now you can now start prolonging this fast. So you move from 8 hours between a meal, then you go to 12 hours, you push 14, 16. Once you get to 16, you get into autophagy. You get encouraged through the results that you're seeing, your skin being smooth, your face being glowing, and these hormones being stabilized. So you get encouraged. And then now you push from 16 to 18, from 18 to 24. Now, at that period in time, you can experience autophagy, taking just one meal a day. That means if you eat at 6 p.m. today, the next meal that you'll eat is possibly 6 p.m. the following day. Now, that is a 24-hour fast. It is very healthy, and that's a way of living. So most of us are supposed to take just an OMAD, which is one meal a day. But 2 meal works with some people, and it's okay as long as you take a high protein diet and high animal fat, which is basically the ketogenic diet or even the carnivore diets. Okay, so once you've done that, now you have adapted to the 24-hour fast. Then you can move on to a prolonged hour fast, basically once in 2 weeks as you graduate, then go to once in a week, then you can prolong it. So a prolonged hour fast is the second type of fasting, which means you can go to 46, 36 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, all the way to 120 hours. Do not do a dry fast, okay? If you have to do a dry fast, let it be just 12 hours and then rehydrate, because you also want to protect your kidneys. So that is what we mean by fasting, and those are the two methods through which you can approach your fasting. Now, this has to be a note for you. Before you start a fast, remember the reason why we are fasting is we want to attain autophagy, and we also want to attain a certain level of glucose in our blood that is normal. So we want to lower any glucose in our systems. We want to lower insulin and stabilize it at the lowest level possible. So that is why we fast. So before you start or initiate a fast, you need to make sure that these are put in check. And the number one thing you have to do, you have to stabilize your glucose. And how do you do that? You've realized anytime I tell people to fast, the first thing I tell you, before you initiate a fast, the last meal, make it high in protein, make it high in healthy fat, like the nuts, like ghee, like olive oil, like tallow. All these healthy fats, butter, will help you to first of all prolong the time at which you'll feel hungry. So you'll take much time before you feel hungry. And also, there are the types of foods that will stabilize your insulin levels. They'll put your insulin levels at the lowest. So you'll not struggle with the cravings, and you'll not struggle with the fast. Okay? Then after that, And then you can, during that fast, you can now start drinking things like the bullet coffee. So you can take sugarless green tea, you can take sugarless black coffee. All these are intended to keep your insulin low so that you survive this fast. Now, again, during that fast, you can hydrate. So apart from taking this coffee and this sugarless green tea, what you need to do is you need to take water and salt, because most people complain about headaches during fasting. And these headaches, if you're diabetic and you're on insulin therapy, then you might get into this headache as a result of hypoglycemia. But if you're not diabetic, or if you're diabetic and not on insulin, then you can still do a fast. So if you get that headache, it will be an indicator of dehydration. That means you have to take water. That means you have to take salt for you to replenish the sodium that you're losing, so that you clean up your headache, and then you clean up your muscle cramps. Okay, so that is basically what is supposed to happen during a fast. Now, most people will experience some fatigue, and people think they actually worry so much about hunger during fasting. Now, I'm here to tell you that fasting, that hunger is a normal occurrence. Hunger is just a mindset, and that hunger, there is a hormone that controls hunger. It's called ghrelin. So this hormone is produced every time you eat. So that hour that when you sit down to eat, your body trains itself to release that hormone, so that anytime that hour comes in, you cannot skip it. You'll feel hungry, so you run to eat. Now, this hormone just gets to a peak during that hour. But beyond that hour of your eating, or beyond that hour of a skipped meal, that ghrelin hormone stabilizes and you go ahead. You just take water that has salt to stabilize your taste buds and to stabilize your gut, and then you move on. So you can control that hormone through taking water, and salty water for that matter. Now, other people worry about weight loss. So not unless you are extremely, or you are underweight and you're eating healthy foods, because low weights can be brought by eating very bad diets and not absorbing nutrients. So if you're eating a healthy meal but your weight is way low, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to just do maybe a 2 meal a day. You avoid the prolonged periodic fast because of extreme weight loss. Okay, because remember also, we are doing this to lose weight. So if you already attained a certain weight that you want, you can move to a 2 meals a day, and you can make this prolonged periodic fasts after some period of time, like let's say 2 weeks or 1 month. That is to help you not to go into extreme underweight. But if you're underweight because you're eating unhealthy foods, then fasting is a key to your healing, because fasting will stabilize your hormones. Fasting will stabilize your gut and your stomach pH, and therefore you'll start absorbing nutrients in their adequate and appropriate amounts. Therefore you'll start adding weight. So take note of that. Then again, most people will worry about those headaches. I already explained about headaches. I've already explained about the hunger. So just take note of those points that I'm putting across. Now, the most important part here is for ladies who are going through menstrual ovulation and menstrual cycle. If you have a normal and regular cycle, only fast when your estrogen levels are high, and that is from the day you stop, from day 1 of the cycle towards the day 14, when you start ovulating. That's when estrogen is high. During the second phase of ovulation and until you get another menses, if you fast, you'll alter your progesterone levels. So it's only advisable that you fast during the first cycle, the first stage of your cycle, so that you stabilize your estrogen levels also. So fasting is an easy way to live. Fasting is healthy. Fasting saves your wallet. Fasting is a good thing. Fasting actually limits your mindset to going to the restaurants to eat foods, because you know, when you have this hunger all the time, you rush to a restaurant to just sort that. So fasting is easy on your wallet. Fasting is healthy, so you get a double advantage out of this. And it also saves you time and the stress to just think what you'll cook, or you'll end up in a restaurant to grab a snack. So start fasting.